thank you so much for being patient with our late start today. Every once in a while we have technical difficulties, but hopefully the rest of the chat will go off without a hitch. So I am really thankful that you've taken time to join our chat this month. As you know, each month, Home Instead Senior Care sponsors our live chats to give you the opportunity to ask your Alzheimer's caregiving questions and get insights from experts in the field. Home Instead is proud to be your trusted in-home care provider, helping you keep your loved ones at home as they grow older. Today we are discussing coping, surviving, and even thriving as a family caregiver with our expert, Karen Garner. Now, before we get started, I do want to remind you of a few things. First of all, we have muted all of your lines, so feel free to carry on about your day and do what you need to do and go and listen. Also, you can enter your questions into the question box at any time, so feel free to get those in. We already have a few questions submitted, so we're excited to get yours. Also, throughout the chat, if you have any of your own tips or any messages of support that you want to share with another caregiver who has sent in a question, you can go ahead and put that into the question section as well. Also, at the end of the webinar, we will send you an email. Wrapping everything up, we will send you a link to the resources that we mentioned, and we will also send you a link to this recorded webinar. So if you want to share it or listen to it again, no worries, you have it right there. Okay, well, let me introduce you to who you will be hearing from today. I'm your host. My name is Koehler. I'm the social media advocate for Home Instead Senior Care. I manage all of our social media properties, but my favorite job is actually talking to all of you each month during our chat. Today I am welcoming my friend Karen Garner back to our live chats. Karen is a family caregiver. Her husband has younger onset Alzheimer's. She is the mother of two and very, very busy keeping up with sports and schools and all those extracurricular activities. And she is also the founder of the Garner Foundation. And you can read read about her experiences at missinggym.com as well as at our website, helpforalzheimersfamilies.com. Karen, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Kat, and thank you for having me. I am so excited to be able to talk to you and answer these questions because we have some great questions today that I think will be so helpful for so many people. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this.
Absolutely. You know, every November is National Family Caregiver Month, and it's really a time, and just so you know, it's not one of those quirky holidays that we just make up and we just say it's going to be. The president has to proclaim this every year. So, you know, it truly is an honor. I want to thank all of the caregivers who are joining us today. Karen, I want to thank you. You guys really are the heartbeat of everything that's going on. So thank you so, so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So, Karen, when I approached you, I think I had sent you a text saying, hey, what are you doing November 17th? Want to do our live chat? And you said, yeah, that would be great. And then I sent you the title of the chat. And I was a little nervous because I thought coping, surviving, and even thriving as a family caregiver. And I was really afraid you were going to call me and be like, have you gone off your rocker? Because I didn't know how some people might take the word or the possibility that you can thrive as a family caregiver.
And I think you can. I think just like with anything else in life, you come across times that are really tough and really hard, and they make or break you. And what you can do is learn so much about yourself and who you really are. I know through this whole process of taking care of Jim, I mean, he's only 53 now, but we started this whole thing trying to get a diagnosis starting actually when he was only 47.
Wow.
And, you know, as the disease has progressed, my inner strength and my ability to really do some self-awareness and digging down deep, so to speak, has come just to the surface, full throttle, more so than it ever has before. And I'm learning so much about not just my strengths as a caregiver for him and our children, but for me as a person, just what I can do, what I can accomplish, the type of person that I am. So I think that sometimes you can become so overwhelmed with those day-to-day chores, basically, and I do use that term chore because it is a chore to keep an eye on your loved one at the same time that you're mourning them and watching them decline. And so while you're doing these chores, you can lose sight of the fact that you're doing something tremendous that is a lot of self-sacrifice. And when you're doing that, you also have to learn to take over the responsibilities that that person once had, whether it's your spouse or your parent. You know, they had an important role in your life, and you become a lot more self-sufficient. So I think that you definitely have to thrive if you are a caregiver just to survive. And I think that people need to pat themselves on the back and to really, instead of always looking at what they should be doing or what they could have done differently, say, I did the best that I could at that very moment, and I am so proud of myself, and I have survived, and I thrived through the whole process.
That's awesome. And I think you're so right. And I think there are days, you know, where many people are, today is just about coping, right? I'm doing okay, I'm getting through it. And there are days, I think, as a caregiver, where you're just like, just let me survive the day, right? As long as everybody is safe and healthy and just get through the day. And I think those days are fine, and we probably have more of those than the days that we think we are thriving. But it really is important, I think, to recognize maybe it's not a whole day, maybe it's just a really brief moment where you are thriving, and to stop and to recognize that, and to give ourselves a pat on the back when those days or those moments happen.
Kat, you are so right. I mean, I can tell you, it's such an emotional roller coaster, too. I mean, you can think you're thriving and you're doing great. I mean, you actually got maybe a load of laundry done or a bill paid, or maybe you even got to go for a walk or call an old friend, or just something to make your day a little brighter. And then the next thing you know, the person that you're caregiving for is standing there with one sock on, the shirt on inside out, or maybe they've soiled themselves. And at that moment, you can choose to erase all of those wonderful things that just had you lifted up, or you can say, this is one part of the day, and I'm going to continue thinking that I'm having a great day, and therefore it will be a great day. So I think it really depends a lot on each individual attitude as well. You really have to consciously decide that it's a great day and that you are able to get through it, because I know, trust me, I have my share of days where I just want to lay in bed, pull the covers over my head, and sometimes I do, and, everything goes wrong. I hit every red light. People cut in front of me. Jim doesn't know who I am. The kids talk back. The dog runs away. I mean, it seems like everything happens all at one time, and you're just like, I can't take this anymore. I can't do it anymore. And then, lo and behold, it takes that inner strength I just mentioned to bring yourself about and say, you know what? I choose to turn this around and to look for a bright spot. And it's at that moment that you will see the positive, because you're looking for it. And that's sometimes a battle in itself, because it's so easy to fall into despair. I mean, let's face it, dementia, whichever form of dementia your loved one has, it wreaks havoc on the whole family, not just them. And it can really weigh you down in so many different ways, emotionally, financially, to where you just feel like you can't think clearly about anything. I know I've had moments where I just can't make a list to even start my day to figure out what I should be doing.
Sure.
I'm just so overwhelmed. But I have to just, put one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it's at a much slower pace than what I would like it to be. But I just have to keep trying to do my best, and hopefully it'll be good enough. But I know it is a difficult journey.
It is, and it's, my friend Tiffany just today sent me a text and said, my all-time favorite quote is from Mother Teresa, and it's, I know God wouldn't give me more than I can handle. I just wish he wouldn't trust me so much.
That's a great quote.
It is. Karen, let's jump into some questions. Okay, we have a question here from Lorraine. And Lorraine actually emailed her question into us before the chat, and you can always do that as well if you're listening. Our email is livechat@homeinstead.com. Lorraine's question is, could you please tell me how to deal with my mother when she is adamant about going home again, and she will sometimes get aggressive, like show her fist or whatever she has in her hand at the time? So that sounds really emotional and scary, Karen.
It does. And, this disease robs our loved ones of their normal personality. I hear over and over again somebody that was so docile and kind all of a sudden starts cussing and becoming aggressive. And I know I've had that experience even with Jim, who was just the sweetest, kindest person, never raised his voice, just really unbelievably kind. And, we've had some issues with him getting angry and violent. So, Lorraine, I definitely feel your pain there, and I'm sure it's hard to see your mom that way. First of all, one thing I would definitely try to remember at that instant that she gets like that is to try to redirect her. A lot of times with Alzheimer's patients, redirecting does wonders with so many different things, especially with anger or confusion. And it sounds to me, when she's asking about going home again, she's scared. She's probably confused about where she is. And you could possibly, redirect her with some questions like, what's your favorite, where's your favorite place at home? Or, did you like to plant the flowers? Or, something that will remind her of that, but at the same time make her feel comfort. So that's a possibility. I can't promise that that'll work, but I know a lot of times it will, because it gets them thinking about something positive in their life, and a lot of times it will calm them down and make them happier. So you definitely, can try that. One thing we've had to do with Jim when he gets aggravated and agitated and violent, it's, we've had to give him some medicine. So I highly recommend talking to your mother's primary care physician. I don't know if it's a neurologist or just her doctor she's had for years. And just maybe there's a way to give her something just when she gets agitated like this, if she's not on something already. So I would definitely talk to your doctor and just see if there's something that could calm her down.
Great tips. And Karen, I'm glad, the example you gave of redirection wasn't something out of left field. And I think a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to, let's just change the subject. Redirection is very different than changing the subject. A lot of times, maybe when mom is talking about, I want to go home, when am I going home, she misses home and she doesn't know how to talk about it. So not just being like, oh, look at that squirrel over there, and changing the subject, but really kind of digging into home. And, oh, Mom, you mean the White House up on the hill? And really talking about it. And like you said, Karen, bringing up some of those happier, fonder times. I love that, instead of just kind of ignoring them, because she's bringing it up for a reason. There's, she's feeling at that time a need to connect with that place potentially. So help her do that without, obviously getting into an argument with her, but, connecting about times that you were in that house and, Was it the kitchen that she loved? Or so that's great. And Karen, you're absolutely right. There are times, and I think we get to points where we think behavior can be managed by redirection or finding out what needs aren't being met. But there really are times that, we need to talk to the doctor and see, okay, is there a medication that can help me? Because first and foremost, our safety and our loved one's safety is the number one priority. So
most definitely. And I know a lot of times with Jim, he gets agitated two different times. One when he's really tired and confused, and another when he's just been overstimulated. And so I think that enough hasn't been said about overstimulation for people with dementia. If they, are used to being able to take some naps during the day and, sort of wander around or sit around and have a calm environment, and then all of a sudden they're thrust upon, let's talk all day and let's play some games, let's look at some pictures, let's do this and that and this and that. They're going to be absolutely exhausted. And when that happens, they can't verbalize it, and therefore they will act out just like we all would do when we're tired and annoyed and, just don't quite know exactly what we're going to do. They have the same thing. So sometimes you can look at other factors as well.
Great. Okay, if you're just joining us, this is our live chat for November. We are talking about coping, surviving, and even thriving as a family caregiver with expert Karen Garner. And we are taking your questions, so feel free to put them into the question section, and we will get to them. Karen, our next question is from somebody who is on live with us today. This is from Kay. And she doesn't give a lot of detail, but it's a serious question, so let's see what we can come up for her. She says, how does one stop their loved one from doing something that might hurt them?
Good question, Kay. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of our live chat. Well, I don't know, obviously, if it's a parent or a spouse that you're asking me about, and I think the answer would probably be the same for either one. But I would definitely go back to what we were just talking about for Lorene, and that would be redirecting them, because a lot of times they will forget, depending on how far along they are with the progression of the disease. But with a little bit of redirection, they'll forget what it was that they were wanting to do. I don't know if maybe you're talking about driving. Sometimes you can just start talking to them about, hey, well, where were you wanting to go? Oh, when's the last time you were there? Oh, yes, the last time I was there, I saw Bob, and he looked really good. And then maybe go into a story about, I don't know, again, if it's your mom or your spouse or whoever, and Bob, and the last time they got together. So that's one possibility. If it's something around the house, maybe if they're trying to use the stove or a power tool, that would probably not be a good idea, because let's all face it, power tools and dementia patients probably not a good idea. Again, you can hide those, you can hide certain things from them just like you would a child, and you can, sometimes they will get frustrated and they'll start looking for them, and they'll get very angry because they can't find what they're looking for. Again, you can ask them what they're looking for and then say, oh, well, what were you going to do with that? What were you going to do with that power saw? What were you going to do with that lawnmower? Whatever. What were you going to cook? So just asking them about what it is they're wanting to do. I don't know if the person you're caring for is verbal, but sometimes just having that conversation helps. Now, again, I realize as a caregiver, sometimes it's very, very difficult to stop, slow down, and take the time to have this conversation, because you have a million other things that are going on. But I have to tell you, this is going to be part of your thriving, because you will feel so much better after you actually can do this. Stop, take a couple of deep breaths, and try, if you can, to have this conversation with them and really listen and pay attention and enjoy that moment, because so many times we're rushing to go somewhere else or to do something else because we have so much on our plate. And I have found that the times that I can stop and slow down and really listen to Jim or even my kids, I feel so much better, and it somehow turns out that I do a better job as a caregiver trying to figure out what everybody's needs and wants are.
Wow. That's great advice. And I love, sometimes we just have to get out of ourselves and take that moment, and take it for what it is and enjoy it. Oh, good luck. That is a really scary situation, and, again, making sure everybody is safe. And the other thing, I think sometimes, Karen, we get the thought that we should be able to handle everything. And there are going to be certain things that we can't handle. So if you're in a situation where it is unsafe, or your loved one is doing something that could cause harm to themselves or to you, you can't be afraid to stop, get yourself in a safe place, and call for help. That's not admitting failure. That's truly doing the best thing for you and your loved one.
Right. I agree 100%. Easier said than done, but we're all behind you. You can do it. It's just, it can be difficult.
Yeah. Okay. Karen, I have a question here from Dave. And while it's not particularly pertaining to Alzheimer's, his wife does have some cognitive impairment, so it may we may have some good answers for him. Here's what Dave says. My wife has brain damage from cancer treatment. This has caused paralysis in her left arm and left leg. She cannot walk or stand. Her cognitive abilities are compromised, and she sometimes struggles with words. She occasionally says she will do something that she physically cannot do, such as cook a meal or get her own food while I'm gone to the market. When I want to take some time off and go somewhere overnight, she says I should just leave her, that she can take care of herself, or she wants to go get her driver's license so she can run errands herself. What should I say to her when she offers or asks to do something that she simply can no longer do?
Wow. Well, Dave, thank you for your question. Of course, we're so grateful to have so many wonderful questions today. This is a tough one, but it really goes along the same lines as the question that we just received from Kay. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that your wife is just so frustrated because she wants to do her share. And I know I went through this with Jim, where he wanted to help out around the house, and he wanted to do the things that he used to do with the kids, or, basically his chores, helping with dinner or working out in the yard. And sometimes it could be a little dangerous for him, and sometimes it could just be frustrating because, he would either make a big mess, or he would break something, or put something in the wrong spot, take something apart to never be put back together. So there is some frustrations there. So my question to you is there something that she can still do that would make her feel part of the household and like she is contributing? For example, maybe she can't drive herself anymore, but can somebody else drive her? Maybe if you have a friend, or even if you hire a caregiver, and then go to the grocery store with her and help her do the grocery shopping. Can she fold towels? Is she able to fold the towels? That's usually something pretty easy that they can do, or just put clothes away in a drawer. Obviously, I'm not sure what her limitations truly are. Again, going back to what you were just talking about, Kat, it's so important to keep everybody safe. So hopefully, you can come up with a few small things that will appease her desire to be a contributing part of the family and at the same time keep her safe and involved. Now, as far as the driving, that's her independence. That's part of her being able to just get in the car and go and be by herself or go meet a friend or run errands, like she said. So there's some sadness and frustration there on her part, I'm sure, as far as not being able to have that independent side as well. So there's going to be some need for some understanding. I don't know if she is capable of doing maybe some counseling. That might be helpful for her and for you, so that she can actually accept what her limitations are now. Obviously, I know you're so thankful that she has survived having some form of brain cancer. That must have been such a hard road to travel, and now you are still able to have her in your home and be able to care for her. And she just wants to get back to who she used to be. And so I think that finding what her capabilities are and utilizing them and letting her feel like she is part of the family still is going to be huge. I think you'll see a big difference if you can work on that together.
Yeah, I think you're right, Karen. I think it is human nature to have a purpose. From the time we're very little, all the way through, we want to contribute, and we don't want to sit there and have no value. And I think, Dave, your wife might be looking for a way to still have value within the home. So I think, like Karen said, focusing on what she can still do and really making, like, I don't want to say a big to-do, but complimenting that. Every time she, puts away laundry, telling her, honey, wow, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you putting away laundry because, it really takes something off my plate, and I appreciate that. So making her feel like she's still a partner with you in this life I think will go a long way. But Karen, I think one thing you touched on is so true, and whether it's Dave, both you and your wife, or just you, finding some counseling, and coming, and honestly, I think for every caregiver, having somebody who's outside of the situation to talk to vent to help you come to terms with your quote-unquote new normal and what life is like. It's a grieving process and it's an acceptance process. And I think if you can, if your wife can, be included in that, and if her cognitive abilities allow for it, I think it could be powerful for her as well.
I agree.
Okay, Karen, we got in some comments, and it looks like we've got some tips that folks have shared. So let me share some of these. Let's see. Anna has given us this great tip. So we all are familiar sometimes with the financial confusion and struggles that may come about. Anna says, set up online accounts to pay bills. They always, our loved ones look at the checkbook and are asking questions about money. Give them a checkbook register that never changes that they look at so that you can handle the issues with the money without them getting involved in changing things. That's
what a great idea.
I know. This is great. Carrie is on the chat with us today, and this is Carrie's comment. Carrie says, this isn't a question, but more so a comment. I have early onset Alzheimer's. I'm 51, and my memories of my childhood home in the 80s is so set in my mind that sometimes I forget it doesn't exist anymore. But I still want to go back to see my mom and dad because it's so safe. I hope when I lose my sense of reason, people will tell me that I will go back there, but later, to redirect me instead of telling me it doesn't exist. Wow.
Wow. Wow is right.
So, Carrie, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it ties in to a tip comment that Mary shared with us. She says that her dad is home, and she says, I live there with him. When he says he wants to go home or asks where we are, might it help to try talking about the childhood home? I know he does not recognize photos of his childhood home, but he has some sort of memory of it. So yeah, maybe home that Mom is asking about might not be the home you're thinking of. So.
And that's so true. I know just with Jim, sometimes I think we live in Virginia, and he, I think sometimes is thinking back to Connecticut where he grew up. And it just depends on the day. And sometimes with a little prodding, you can pick up on some clues and realize, they're either talking about the White House or the Yellow House. They're talking about, their dog from their childhood, or, some friends from their childhood. So sometimes it takes a little bit of investigative work, but you can definitely figure it out after a little bit.
And don't you think really where I think a lot of times we get hung up is we are so busy, which then makes us really impatient, which means I don't have time to listen and figure out what you're talking about.
Oh, yes, most
so now
definitely.
Now I can't redirect you and make things better. So, you really hit on it earlier, Karen, when you talked about kind of being in the moment and taking it for what it is, and it really is the most rewarding way to thrive is by doing it that way.
Yeah, I agree, 100. And it's probably one of the hardest things to do, but it's so rewarding when you do.
Yep. Okay, let's take another question here, and then we'll follow up with some more of your tips. This question actually came from our app. So if you have a smartphone or a tablet, we have an app that can give you some tips and resources right there wherever you're at, and we'll make sure everybody gets information on how to download that. It is available both on the Apple Store as well as for Android devices. So, Karen, this question is from Michelle. Michelle says, my mom is at home with me, but she doesn't know who I am anymore, and she wants to go home every day. She has also burned her face with toothpaste recently. I am concerned that I can't take care of her by myself any longer. Should I try to get full-time in-home care or move her to a facility?
Well, Michelle, my heart goes out to you because I recently just faced this dilemma with my husband, Jim. And so it is a gut-wrenching decision, and it will be one that only you can answer because only you really know, exactly how your family life is. But I'm going to try to do my best to give you some things to think about in coming up with your answer. First of all, kudos to you for having your mom there at your home with you, because a lot of people wouldn't have even done that. So it's very obvious you care deeply for her, and you've done a great job taking care of her. But it is a huge undertaking, and you will definitely, if you continue to keep her at home, need to get some help, because I don't know if she's doing what they call sundowning, where she's up during the night a lot or getting agitated in the evening. That's when you need some help so you can get some rest. The one thing caregivers really need to do is take care of themselves. So you need a break too. So you will, if you do decide to keep her in the house, you will need to get some help. Obviously, you can contact your local home instead office, and they can come to your house and basically do an evaluation. You may not need a full-time care person. You may need somebody part-time just to come in and give you a break. Or you might need a full-time caregiver, and you will still be there, and you will be able to help out, but you will get some help. with daily activities and with, showering and feeding and obviously helping her with that toothpaste so she doesn't burn her face anymore. Now, as far as moving to a facility, that would be something, do you have a facility that you're comfortable with, one that you will feel safe having her there and you'll be happy having her there, maybe one that's close by that you can visit often? What are your finances like? It's obviously less expensive when you have somebody come to your home to help with home care. Are you able to afford to place her in a facility? I know for us, having young kids in the house, we are constantly coming and going, and that was not good for Jim. I was not capable of taking good care of him like they could at a facility. Even if I wanted to, even if I quit doing everything else, our house wasn't conducive to keep taking care of him. We didn't have a downstairs full bath, and we didn't have a downstairs bedroom, and he was starting to shuffle and become a little bit more frail on his feet. Let alone, our kids are busy. They're coming and going all the time, and that was very difficult with him having a different schedule. So he needed a place that was calm, where he could just sit and relax and go to bed whenever he wanted to, and was safe, and all on one floor. So there's different things to look at. How safe is your mom in your house? Is it set up, for her as she progresses with the disease? Or is the facility the better answer because they're just more equipped to take care of her? And then how is this playing with your health? Have you had any health issues? The stress of taking care of someone can be completely overwhelming. And are you able to get those breaks that you need? How is this affecting the rest of your family? Are you married? Is this affecting your marriage, your children? Do you have a job and it's affecting your job? I just don't know all of the different facets of your life that this will impact. But I do know having someone with dementia that you're caring for impacts every single facet. So all of your relationship, your finances, your job and your career. So I encourage you just to make a list of, what the positives would be for keeping her home and what the positives would be for moving her to a facility. But I definitely do encourage you to get help because it's literally impossible to take care of someone with dementia completely 100% by yourself, especially as they progress and move along. So you definitely want to have a plan of what will be best for you and for your mom.
Yeah, I know it's a heartbreaking decision. It's a very difficult decision. Just from the, measuring pros and cons and, which one is better. And it really is, it's a different decision for every family. And Michelle,
Right.
I'm so, so happy that you're asking this question now. What more can you do to get help? Because Karen, you're so right. Nobody, can do this on their own. It really, truly does take a village. And, we are, obviously here at Home Instead, we're big proponents of in-home care, but we also know that that is not always the right answer for every family. And there is there should be no sense of failure or shame or anything about choosing to have a facility help your loved one, because that's what they need. And there truly are benefits to having that facility care. So I really encourage you to check out all of the options in your area. And I know, Karen, when you were going through this decision, it was really tough. And gosh, I don't even know the countless numbers of facilities you looked at and different options you looked at. And I know from the conversations we've had, it was something that weighed very, very heavily on your mind and your heart.
Yes, it was, and that's another thing. Once you do start looking at facilities, do they have an opening? Does your mom need skilled nursing or not skilled nursing? Is it just going to be an assisted living thing? obviously she probably needs to go in some type of memory care, but memory care doesn't always equal skilled nursing care. So these are the questions you're going to have to ask and become very familiar with, not just the financial side, but what kind of care do they provide? And, look at their history. You can go online and see if they've had a lot of complaints, or see what kind of grade they have from your state, from the inspectors. You can do your homework. It's a lot to do. It's a lot of hard work, but it's well worth it when you have that peace of mind. And one thing I do want to caution you on is, whatever your decision, it's the best decision that you can make right then. Don't second guess yourself. Know that you're doing it at that moment because that's what's right for you and for your mom, and that you love her no matter what, and you're doing your best to take care of her. So never feel guilty about trying to just take good care of her.
No, and I absolutely agree. It's guilt, that feeling of, I think we mislabel our feelings sometimes. When we're feeling guilty, that insinuates we've done something wrong. And there is no wrong choice here. You're caring for your mom. So you may, be feeling sad, or maybe even disappointed about, maybe where, this point in life has come. But you're a good daughter. So don't ever feel guilty.
I agree.
Karen, we got very timely here a tip from Anna. And she says the state has a program that assists the caregiver with 10 hours a month for free. So yes, there are some states, some may have some respite care grant programs, some organizations specifically for Alzheimer's. Home Instead Senior Care has teamed up with Hilarity for Charity, which is an Alzheimer's Association charity, to offer family caregivers respite or relief care grants. So these grants allow families to get some time away, and a highly trained Home Instead caregiver will come in and help care for your loved one so that you can tend to, whether it's doctor's appointments or lunch with friends or whatever it may be. But there are ways to get assistance out there, but you have to look under a lot of rocks to find them. So I'm going to tell you which rock to look under for this grant program. You just go to our Alzheimer's website where you registered for this chat. It is helpforalzheimersfamilies.com, and you'll see a button there that talks about the Relief Care Grant. So check that out. Okay.
Yes, it's a great program. Great program. Thank you for doing that for the caregivers.
It is, it is really great, and it's not very often that we get to work with somebody like Seth Rogen. But he and his wife Lauren have been amazing and so incredibly dedicated to this cause. So I
admire them tremendously.
Yeah, it's been great. I want Karen to we've got a question here. It's a little long, but I think it's a really important question that we have here, and it comes from Cindy. And so,
hi, Cindy.
Yes, Cindy, thank you for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. So here's what Cindy says, and then we might break it down into chunks. She says, my dad is 90 and in a facility for only a few months now. I visit him often, and he usually fusses when I leave, and I feel terrible leaving him. As well, some of the time, he knows that he is confused. He knows he has memories from many years ago and is combining them with recent times or even dreams he has. At least that's what we're thinking. We have not told him he has dementia and feel he would be devastated if we did. How do we handle that? Also, he can become very obsessive and paranoid regarding the staff. We are learning to redirect, but he will often return to the accusations against the staff. We are 99.99% sure these accusations are not accurate because he is so well cared for. Any suggestions? Okay, Karen, let's start with leaving and your loved one fussing and you feeling terrible.
Right. You know, that I don't think that's going to go away. I think that every time you leave him, you know, he's your dad, you're leaving him there, and you're going to feel that little bit of sense of guilt. You know, my parents aren't even in a home, and when I visit with them, they live 4 hours away. At the end of our visit, every single time, I get an overwhelming sense of sadness, and not necessarily guilt, but just the sadness of not knowing when I'm going to see them again and hoping they're going to be okay. I mean, they're in their 70s, so they're not quite as old as your dad, but, you know, I think that's a normal thing as we are adults and we know that the time that we're not going to have our parents there one day is coming closer and closer. And, you know, every time you leave your dad, of course, you're going to be sad. And it's very, very normal to feel guilty. So I would like to give you a tip and just say, oh, no, don't feel guilty. You can tell somebody not to do something, but you can't tell them not to feel something because feelings are feelings. And they come from the heart, not from the brain. And so just know that you're going to feel that way. And when you do, say it's okay because he is being taken care of. As you mentioned later on in your question there, that he is very well cared for. And that's what you have to remind yourself of. And remind yourself that you're going to see him again the next day or whenever it is that you're going to come visit. And he'll be fine until then.
So what do we think about, do we tell him he has dementia or do we not tell him? What are your thoughts on that, Karen?
Well, okay, so this is getting into that whole don't ever talk about religion and politics with family and friends. So this I want to put out there is my opinion because this is my personality and who I am. Now, every family is different, and because this is my opinion, I am not telling you you're doing something wrong or you should do something different because I feel like you know your dad, you have your reasons for not telling him. For me personally, I couldn't imagine not telling my parents or my husband or whoever and keeping it from them. So I think to be politically correct, I'm supposed to tell you that that's fine, you know, you're doing the right thing, which you are, but since you're asking me my opinion is he needs to know, and my reasoning for that is he knows something's wrong, and when somebody has dementia, they know in the earlier stages especially, even if he is 90, if he's, you know, still got a sharp enough mind up there, he knows he's forgetting stuff. He knows he's getting confused. As you mentioned, you know, he's combining memories from long ago and memories from a dream, and it's got to be scary and confusing and so hard on him. If he knew he had dementia, then he would have a reason for him to be this way instead of being so frustrated and trying to figure out what's wrong. So for me personally, I feel like letting him know so that he can understand what is happening would be a great way to help him with having this confusion. Now, that being said, you know your dad obviously 1,000 times better than I do, and you know your reasoning for not telling him. So weigh whatever your reasonings are against what my answer is and decide what's best for your family.
Absolutely. Okay, and the last part of Cindy's question is about handling the accusations that Dad has against the staff that they're not sure are true and they redirect them. So I'm going to put my 2 cents in on this one. Take them seriously. That, you know, he may be confused and it may not be accurate, but it doesn't hurt to go to the management and say, my dad has said that Bill has taken his watch. I just wanted to let you know, and we're looking for the watch. As soon as we find it, we will let you know. But don't dismiss, there are two things. Don't dismiss your dad's concerns, whether they're legitimate or not, they're concerning him. And you need to make sure that the management of wherever he is at is aware of what's going on so that they can take care of it as well. What are your thoughts on that, Karen?
I agree 100%, Kat. You know, it's always twofold. But there is a lot of things that go on in nursing homes, even when they are very well taken care of. Things do get missing, or, you know, when staff thinks nobody else is around, you know, maybe they don't get up and clean them like they're supposed to, or change the sheets like they're supposed to, or, you know, wipe whatever it is off their face. You know, whatever his complaints are. I really think that you do have to show him some validation, because especially if he's feeling scared and frustrated, to be dismissed like he doesn't know what's going on is probably going to cause even more frustration for him. And there is a lot that happens in nursing homes, even when they are well taken care of, that needs to be stopped. And going to the management and letting them know, you don't know, maybe somebody else is having the same issue. And if enough people go to the management, they'll say, hey, Bill's had several people that have said that. Maybe there is something to it. And also showing up at different times. You know, if you usually come every Sunday right after church or every day after work, you know, maybe instead of after work, you can come on your lunch break and just pop in and surprise them. You know, just change up the routine a little bit and see if that makes a difference as well.
Karen, we've got time for maybe one or two more questions. But just in case anybody's got to go, I want to let you all know about the resources that we've talked about, and then also what's coming up next month. So if you're on the computer, you can see here are the resources we've mentioned. helpforalzheimersfamilies.com is a great website. You've been there to register for this chat, but did you know we've got training on there for both family caregivers? We also have training for businesses who can train their staff to be Alzheimer's friendly. And there's Karen answers your questions there. She blogs there. All kinds of great resources. ConfidenceToCare.com is where you can learn more about the great book, Confidence to Care, written by Molly Carpenter, who is often a guest expert on our chats. It has really become the go-to book in the Alzheimer's world because of its layout. It's really focused on the behavioral symptoms of dementia. And it's one of those books that's more like a dictionary. You don't have to read the whole book. If you're struggling, I'm just going to flip it open. If you're struggling with confusion and memory loss, you flip it to that chapter, get a couple of tips that might work for you, and you're good to go. Also, hopefully, you all can join us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is right there. It's facebook.com/rememberforalzheimers. Guys, we're at more than a 250,000 fans on that page, and it's a tremendous community of support, information, and inspiration. And I really want you to go check out the GarnerFoundation.org to learn how they are helping support families going through this. Karen, can you talk a little bit about both MissingJim.com and about the Garner Foundation?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Kat. Well, the Garner Foundation was started basically as we traveled this road and realized that there weren't really a lot of programs out there to support the caregiver. You know, with respite care, thank God Seth Rogen and Home Instead Senior Care has come along to start that program. But also for elder care attorney help, so that in the earlier stages you can get your finances in order, or possibly help with applying for Social Security disability and answering those questions to get everything where it should be before it's too late. And another is, we had young kids and we wanted to take some memory-making trips, and there was no help for us. It took me a couple of years to save up to take Jim to Alaska with the kids, and by then the disease had progressed so that I needed some help, and my parents had to come with me. So we wanted to offer families this Make a Memory opportunity as well. So we have several different ways that we are working with our communities to help caregiving families. And of course, MissingJim.com is my baby, to just reach out to other caregivers and let them know they are not alone. We are all in this together. And sometimes it's an ugly mess, but we are all going to work through it together. And I think there's so much stigma still out there with Alzheimer's and other dementias that people need to understand what it's like to live this day in and day out. It's much more than forgetting your keys or somebody's name or misplacing an item. And I think that to educate the public is to draw it up, to get more support and more research funding, and to hopefully one day not only find a cure, but to release that stigma from everybody who is suffering from this disease so that they feel loved and wanted by the society.
I truly, honestly love Karen's writing. It's just very authentic. So love it. Check her out. And you can follow her there at MissingJim.com. And she also does some exclusive pieces for us at HelpForAlzheimer'sFamilies.com. Okay, everybody, get your calendars out, because we are going to talk about December, which I can't believe is right around the corner. But my friend and colleague Molly Carpenter, the author of Confidence to Care, is joining us Wednesday, December 30th at 5 p.m. So register for this chat at HelpForAlzheimer'sFamilies.com. It's going to be a really, really good one, talking about family dynamics and caregiving. So that can be a touchy subject, but we'll get some good information on how to improve communication, develop teamwork, and make decisions together. It is possible. So families do it. Yours can too. Okay, Karen, how about we take one more question before we go?
Oh, I don't want to go.
I know.
I love answering all these questions.
I know. So let's see. I have a question here that talks about sundowning. So Lorraine wants to know, how do I deal with sundowning as I take care of my mother? Her doctor prescribed medication, but sometimes I feel guilty, like I'm doping her up because she was or is a very active person. And when I give it to her, this drug puts her to sleep.
Oh, gosh. That is a hard one. Well, unfortunately, there's not a lot of ways around them taking the medication for sundowning. And there are, you can try the redirecting, but redirecting really doesn't work very well most of the time. There's always exceptions with sundowning because, they're up, they're confused, they forget that they're supposed to be asleep at 3 o'clock in the morning, or, they're tired from their day, so they start to get agitated. And a lot of times that can just help calm them and get them the rest that they need. That being said, I totally get what you're saying. I have been a huge proponent of not giving Jim any more medication than what he absolutely has to have. And it breaks my heart whenever he does have his violent outbursts and he has to get drugged up, because he just looks so out of it. And it's not my Jim. It's not who he is and who he would want to be. So that's a really, really hard decision. And I don't know if you have the capability of having a caregiver come there to the home, maybe to stay up with them during the night, because if that's possible, like right now, the facility Jim's in, he's not on a lot of medications specifically for this, only when he has his violent outbursts. So sometimes I come to visit him and he's sleeping all morning because he was up all night. And the staff's fine with that. They let him, they're there working anyway. So if you're at your home, you know, obviously you need to get your rest, but is there a way to have a caregiver come in and just keep them safe, keep them from wandering out the door, but let them, you know, get up and wander around the house? What are your options other than using medication to change the trajectory of their personality at that very time?
Yeah, I think it's a hard call, Lorraine, but you have to do what takes care of your mom and what helps you and allows you to function. And if that's medication, then it's medication. And again, don't let the feelings override the thought process and what's best. But regardless of what you decide, you're doing a great job, and keep it up.
I agree.
Karen, that's our hour. We had our hour. I know it went by really fast. So I want to thank all of you who took your time to join us. I'm sorry we couldn't get to every question. Hopefully, go to our resources, find answers there. Send us an email at livechat@homeinstead.com. Karen, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Kat. It's my pleasure. I really enjoyed it. And I hope that everyone that's listening has a wonderful rest of your day.
Awesome. We'll see you all Wednesday, December 30th. Have a great week.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.